Hi, welcome to Samarpan, podcast number 8, and we've got a fantastic guest here staying with us for a couple of days here at Samarpan in Mulshi. I've got Nuno Albuquerque from Portugal. Nuno has worked in many of the sort of very well-known treatment providers in the UK and Europe and Asia as well, actually. You're very well travelled. Nuno, welcome to Samarpan. Thank you for being with us.
Thanks for having me. Really nice to be here as well. Yeah.
Would you like to introduce yourself and just maybe a bit of a overview about your, how you got into this field and, a little bit around about the places that you've worked at?
Sure. I mean, so I think what motivated me to work in this field was of having personal experience of addictions in the past. So I kind of, was an active addiction in the past, and then I managed to go into treatment. And in treatment, after, first 3 months of treatment, I started to feel like that feeling of, oh, this is what I would like to do. I would like to help people like me. So I left, I completed my treatment at that time. I left that idea to mature for like 3 years or so. And then I still wanted, at that time I kept involved in my own recovery, in touch with my treatment center. And then I had the opportunity in 2001 to go in and to do some training with them, which I did. Went to the college as well for my counseling skills certificate, my first training, and I carried on with training and working in rehabs in Somerset.
And yeah, you was in sort of Weston-super-Mare, Bristol area, yeah?
Yes.
Yep.
So that was my first rehab where I worked, and when I did my initial training.
Yes.
Then moved on to another rehab in Weston-super-Mare, and then to another one in Bristol. At that time, I continued to do my training, my addictions counseling diploma, actually in Plymouth. So I was driving every week from Weston to Plymouth. So then, and my career took off with continual training as an addictions counselor, and then later on working in Portugal as well, like therapeutic coordinator, and then slowly moved into more senior positions in the places that I've been. I'm really privileged that my working experience is quite diverse.
Yes.
So I did work for charities, for RAPT in the UK, managed some...
Do you want to just explain what RAPT is? Because for some people watching, they won't know what RAPT is. I mean, I think Obi who works here is ex-RAPT as well, from what I can remember. Right.
So RAPT is nowadays it's called the Forward Trust.
Yes.
And it's a much bigger organization. At that time, basically what we do, we try to bring the residential treatment into the prisons.
Yeah.
So we had treatment programs for alcohol and drugs in different prisons, and I was managing one of the programs in one of the prisons. So that I began to work more as a manager,
yes,
managing teams, which is something that I start really to like, to coach my teams into good practice and skills development and stuff like that. So yeah, and that is part of my working experience. I also, for the same organization, years later, managed a day program in London, which is another diverse experience I had in the field. I moved abroad as well. I lived in Macau, in China. I did some work in Hong Kong, in an international school as a school counselor as well. And yeah, coming back to Europe, working in some of the most luxurious clinics in Europe with high-end clientele. and other treatment providers in the UK at a more senior level. Currently, I have my own private practice.
Yep.
Where I see clients on one-to-one. I'm based in Lisbon, as you said. I'm in London once a month to see my face-to-face clients. I do a lot of work online currently.
Yes.
I've got groups online, group therapy, DBT groups, a group on habits as well. And I visit. I always try to get to know new places and new developments where I can then advise my clients to, to go if they need certain types of support. And I'm really grateful that I have the opportunity to come here, to meet you, Obi, and meet your team as well.
Yes.
And visit the facilities and the location where you are, which equips me with more tools for me to be able to provide to my clients.
Sure. I mean, okay. We'll talk a little bit about your experience here a little bit further in the chat. But I mean, you've got a lot of experience in working in this field. What do you see as the sort of some of the significant changes over the last? My take is the last 20 or so years. There's been quite a big shift in the way that treatment has been delivered and on what's going on in treatment providers from what it was sort of probably in the early 2000s, certainly the 90s, and a couple of the places I'm familiar with that you mentioned. In Somerset, Bristol, obviously Weston-super-Mare. What do you see as some of the changes in the way that treatment has sort of evolved from then?
Yeah, I think nowadays there is more partnership kind of work in between treatment providers. I think there is more communication going, and which is good for the clients, because one size doesn't fit all, and I think we need to work together to try to provide the best service that is more suited for that particular client. Yeah. And I think that has been a very good change. Nowadays we've got many more conferences as well. We managed to network, we managed to know what each other do, and be able to refer. I think that's the most positive change that happened. But also there is a big boom of rehabs outside of the UK as well, which I think is good, because we will there is a lot of good practice in the UK, right? Yes. And we can transfer that in other parts of the world that are in need of that good practice as well. Okay? Yeah. So I think that has been like the biggest change in communication.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like you say that some, the practice and how things are done in the UK and obviously the US, which are probably the two most mature sort of countries with regards to service provision and stuff. I think we've seen over the years, and like you say, that these types of programs have started to sort of move into different countries, and I think sort of looking at it, Spain, there's there's a few programs now in Spain. Obviously we've had Camino, Don and Mina who've been here as well, so Don and Mina, and they've been in Spain for quite some time. Portugal's got some stuff, and we'll talk about Portugal in a minute. I want to talk a little bit about Portugal, if that's okay. I think also, we've seen treatment programs open in Thailand, which has been sort of a big sort of destination sort of rehab country for, now for probably around about 15, 16 years since the first program opened in Thailand, which I was at. And Indonesia, there's some programs now in Indonesia, so we're sort of starting to see things. Do you think India could be the next place for destination?
For sure. I mean, I think I just said to you, I think you guys are doing like groundbreaking kind of work, but definitely I think will be a destination because you've got the quality, you've got qualified people. Obviously you've got the weather, but you've got also a culture that is very welcoming to their visitors.
Yes.
And yes, definitely India would be like the next place to explore.
Yeah. Definitely have the weather compared to like a typical winter's day in Western-super-Mare.
Oh yeah. Or anywhere in Europe.
So, I mean, just in terms of, we were talking about the treatment, but I'd be really interested about, if I was talking about the change in the delivery of treatment. So, if we go back to sort of the 80s and the 90s, where a lot of the treatment was very much born in terms of 12-step treatment centres. But what have you seen sort of the change in the modalities of treatment, and what are you sort of, what do you find really effective, and what do you find really interesting in some of the stuff that's sort of coming out now? I know that you're sort of, because like I follow you, we've known each other for quite a few years, so I know sort of some of the work you do, but what do you find?
Yeah, I mean, back on those times was quite rigid and quite just almost one size fits all.
Yeah.
I mean, even in terms of what I was saying before, there was not the thing of, I visit many treatment centers, right? Open door. So, and at that time was just not like that. I mean, nowadays, I think that holistic approach, that kind of work is really happening. I mean, we are, I remember on the 90s and early 2000, doing physical exercise was like no go. You are kind of
avoiding your feet.
Avoiding your distraction. We know now that physical movement, it's part of someone's recovery, and it's an important ingredient on someone's recovery. Other therapies like yoga, and breathing, for example, art therapy, sound therapy, they are part of the program. I think we need to kind of understand the client and then have, as much as possible, a bespoke approach to that particular client. I believe it's really important. We talk nowadays a lot about trauma-informed approach, and it's really important to have the relationship with the client, a rapport with the client as the first thing. So it's that kind of whole approach that I'm seeing that is quite effective.
Yeah.
And I think we can all have that in treatment providers like this one, because that is possible. It's possible to have a treatment program that can be adjusted also for the particular needs of that particular client.
Yes.
So yeah, I think it's that whole approach, that holistic approach is quite effective. Yeah.
I mean, you've done some work. I mean, I know that you've done some work around, gambling, gaming, sex addiction. I think you're a sex addiction therapist as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I kind of work with substance and process addiction, and I think some years ago we had some talks with.
We did, yeah.
But that all comes into my kind of line of work. More recently with gaming, video gaming, I'm involved in a kind of a psychoeducation way about to show the industry of video gaming, the good bits and the bad bits. So
do you want to maybe just talk a little bit about gaming addiction and just how it sort of presents and what maybe you know, families can look out for? Just sort of, you know, we've maybe got people that are looking, and then, you know, and they sort of all of a sudden they're going to be, oh, I think my son, my daughter's got an issue with this. Maybe, do you want to just sort of give a little bit of an overview of that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like any other addiction in a way. It's like traits of, you know, if the parents start seeing the children isolating more, you know, the grades coming, dropping on grades as well, that resistant to kind of leave the mobile phone or the console outside of the room, or, you know, to stick with boundaries that parents put in place, you know, then we might start getting worried. But I think that talking about parents, you know, there is a lot of responsibility that needs to be put on the parents, right? I usually say that, you know, mobile phones and tablets and all of these gadgets, they are a theme park even for adults, right? We can get lost there. So we as a parent, we have the duty to kind of supervise and guide our children through these devices and kind of put the boundaries in place from the beginning and be a role model to them as well. There is no point in saying to my child, you know, stop watching the mobile phone when you are at the table, when I'm watching my mobile phone when I'm at the table. So I think a lot of psychoeducation to parents needs to be done, and obviously parents needs to be open to that, because we don't need to get onto that last resort when someone is really addicted already to gaming. I mean, there are cases that you know, children get really lost in there, and can become quite aggressive as well when parents start to confronting them with their gaming habits. Like in anything, I mean, it's not just about, it's not all bad on gaming, and I think I need to highlight that. You know, like with alcohol, for example, not everyone that drinks becomes an alcoholic, right?
Correct.
And not everyone that games becomes addicted to gaming. But we kind of, with children, parents have the duty to kind of supervise and guide them through those gadgets that they give to them.
And you've got an online online portal education. How can I was going to use the word thing. That's a terrible word, but it's called platform. That's the word I'm thinking of. A platform. So you got this. You've been working with a couple of other people on this platform. Gamewell, So do you want to just explain what Gamewell is? Because I've had a look at it. It's actually very cool.
It's gamewell.co. So basically are like a set of psychoeducation workshops about gaming, and we have 3 different programs. One more directed to gamers, to kids and people that do some gaming. Another one more directed to parents, some education for parents, and a more comprehensive one for professionals. So anyone that is in touch with someone that does some gaming, can be a psychologist, a support worker, a teacher, you know, anyone can do that course, and is fully accredited by a company in the UK. So yeah, quite exciting, because the kind of programs highlight problematic gaming, but also opportunities that the gaming industry can provide. Gaming is here to stay. We start hearing like esports to be part of the Olympic Games even. So that's where the industry is. We see, for people that are not very familiar to that, it's not just about the person playing the console at home, it's about filling in arenas with thousands of people, sometimes just watching other people playing. That's how big. That's how big it is, and we have information about that theme. We have the duty to kind of share that information with everyone.
Yeah.
So we're going into schools. We have Gamewell Club, where after school clubs. We're going into teachers and professional training to get them to know a little bit more about gaming. There is still a lot of stigma about gaming. People don't. It's a new thing.
Yeah.
Stuff, and people feel that they get a little bit insecure and a bit resistant to that. But there is no point to be resistant, because that is here, is going to stay, and is going to grow even more. So better for us to be equipped with information that can be useful. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you know, it's a little bit like even like with mobile phone use now, isn't it? People are you know, it's here to stay. It's not going to change.
Yeah, social media is here
social
to
media,
stay.
yeah.
I mean, again, there are good things at times of the COVID and all of the restrictions around the world. Social media was quite helpful for people's mental health, to be in contact with each other, for kids that were not able to be in school, to be in contact with their friends and colleagues. But like in anything that if we do to excess, you know, we might have a problem. Because they are quite addictive, right?
Sure.
It can be quite addictive.
I mean, going back, and you just mentioned the C word, the COVID, and what have you seen sort of change since COVID, particularly around, you know, people's mental health and you know, addiction? What has been the change? Have you noticed sort of any newer sort of problems that have come along, or more people struggling with certain things? Any sort of differences since COVID?
I think with COVID, we start talk even more about mental health and addictions. So if there is good things about COVID, is that we start talking more about mental health conditions and addictions, which then allowed people to step forward and ask for help. Yes, there was a big impact, and we are still seeing people, you know, coming back within their own recovery process from being isolated for so long.
Yes.
You know, not long as I had someone that still works from home, still struggles to go out of their home, and COVID restrictions they've been lifted maybe a few years now. I'm talking
around about 2 years. It's sort of in the last 2 years things really sort of have
so
opened,
we still
haven't
see
they?
people struggling to leave their homes today.
Another
thing that came as a result of those COVID restrictions, because it was more the restrictions than the kind of virus, was the boom on online service. So people that lost a little. I mean, I've been doing online because I travel a lot throughout my career, so that is not new to me. But there was a lot of stigma of people engaging, and nowadays it's not. You know, we know that you know, other medical professionals, they do like online consultations, GPs. There's even telephone, which I've got anyway some reservations about some of that stuff. But yeah, that was one of the good things about online. People can access online services, support services, without having to leave their home, because some of them are really struggling, get really anxious about leaving their home. I
mean, there's been a couple of pieces of research that's come out in the last month, which I think you will be aware of. One was around about the increase in mental health issues in children. And we're going to go just use the UK as an example. This is the UK, and the increase in mental health issues in I think it's adolescent children since COVID, and how the lockdowns impacted you know, children, particularly in the adolescent age, and also there was the other part where the increase in alcohol abuse is at the highest level ever. I think it is. It's a significant surge in alcohol abuse in the UK. So
yeah. I mean, with that comes reports that we are having every year of alcohol and drug-related deaths, which has been on an increase year by year, and I think that probably is very well linked with some kind of limitation of funding that we've been having year by year as well.
Yes.
For services that maybe 20 years ago were helping a lot of people.
Yeah. Yes.
And sometimes, you know, if things are working, let's continue to have them working, you know.
Yeah.
Why change? But when we change, then we have all of this increase. But yeah, I don't work with children. I work with people over 18 years old.
Yeah.
But I do have plenty of the clients on my caseload are like on early 20s, like 20, 21, 22. So they did suffer a lot from COVID restrictions and being at home. Yeah, so I mean, we know also there is an increase of like porn addiction, mainly porn, not so much sex addiction, but porn addiction. And that we think that is due to some of those restrictions, and so why people going into addictions, right? That's you know, there is a role of the behavior or the substance. It plays a role. So people people try to feel better, or you know, and then people might develop an addiction, and then end up having two problems, which is sorting out the addiction and still to regulate themselves emotionally, right? And so we are still having an impact of some of those restrictions we had in place at that time, which was quite rigid. And
it was pretty tough, wasn't it, for a lot of people? I mean, I know from my own personal experience how I struggled, particularly with the first set of, you know, lockdowns, which, you know, literally just everything just sort of, you know, we would literally just shut off, you know, that was it. And it was, you know, the world sort of almost closed down. I mean, from sort of being this really busy person to literally nothing, you know, all of a sudden it was really quite...
Yeah, I mean, I was privileged at that time because as a frontline kind of worker, I had to go to clinics and mainly support the staff that was working at those clinics at that time. But yes, definitely, I remember, you know, motorways empty. I remember hotels that I had to go and knock on the door because the door was closed. And like gas stations, that was only that, the gas station, all of the area, the rest of the area was closed. So yeah, it was scary times.
It was, and a lot of uncertainty because no one really knew when things were going to, you know, open back up. And, you know, no one really knew anything. It was a very...
about keeping their jobs, and we know that, you know, addiction thrives through fear and uncertainty, you know? And I think people, again, that fear kind of, people wanted to overcome and try not to feel, and started to kind of engage in behaviors or drinking at home or having stuff delivered as well.
Like you say, I mean, I can see why there would be a rise in things like porn addiction and gaming addiction, because it's at the, you know, it's there, isn't it? And you can literally, I can pick up that phone and I can,
and gambling and you know, it's there. If we're talking about someone addicted to heroin, it's like having heroin on the mobile phone, right? So it's secretive. There is not that ritual of going to the betting shop and going to kind of cash some money on the cash point. All of that is gone. It's all done in your room.
Those little things that might have stopped you going in the past, all of a sudden they're taken away. Like you say with porn addiction, if you go back 25, 30 years ago, you had to go you had to go to a shop.
You need to buy a magazine.
You had to buy a magazine.
And that comes, the shame comes in, you know, and plays, and probably at that time, probably healthy shame, or, you know, but the same with, I lived in Macau in China, which is like a big place for, it's like the Las Vegas of Asia.
Exactly.
You know, a lot of gambling. So when I was there, I got involved in some conferences trying to understand about the theme. As I do, I always try to learn a little bit more. And I've been to like responsible gambling conferences and stuff like that. And they've got some procedures in place to help people not to fall into addiction, right? All of that, you know, doesn't happen on your device, you know. You don't have to the cash point. The cash point doesn't have to be 500 meters from the gambling table, and so on. So all of that might dissuade people of betting again, you know.
Yeah.
So
I've got to ask you this question because, and you're from Portugal, so a lot of people talk about Portugal and their approach to addiction, particularly around about drug policy and stuff like that. Could you maybe just sort of give a bit of an outline to people that might be watching about, you know, how Portugal has been a little bit, I mean, Portugal's been a little bit different than the majority of countries, and how you feel it's worked, or where you feel it might not have worked. What sort of,
I mean, and that is down to someone called Dr. João Golão, which is the architect of the drug policy in Portugal, someone that I have the privilege to meet, a very nice person. And yeah, I mean, Portugal is different. It's not that people sometimes think that drugs are legal in Portugal. Drugs are not legal in Portugal, just to be very clear.
Yes.
But someone that has been found with drugs for consumption, instead of giving like a legal penalty, which might end up sending them to prison, for example, for a period of time, they will be sent to a treatment, a kind of a treatment. It might be abstinence-based, might not be abstinence-based, might be, you know, any kind of treatment. So that is the difference. With that comes like needle exchange and stuff like that. So it was not that addiction decrease in Portugal, but also other illnesses related to that. And I'm talking about HIV, I'm talking about hepatitis C, hepatitis B. Okay. So all of those decreased.
Have come down,
It's a good example. Remember, the war needs to be on drugs, not on addicts.
That's a really, really pertinent point, because I think, you know, I get frustrated with the whole, you know, this war on drugs, and as you say, I think a lot of it is not about the drugs, it's about criminalisation of people, and the way I see it, and I mean, I worked in the prison system as well, that, you know, people get caught up in maybe in their addiction, they get caught using, they get sent to prison, they get a criminal record, that all of a sudden they're on the peripherals of society as it is, and then by being incarcerated, by being criminalized, they're excluded again. It's very difficult for people to sort of restart their life.
Martin, look, I had in that program that I managed in a prison for a couple of years, we had this community meeting, which is the room with more than 30 inmates, part of that were doing our program. And sometimes I start to look around, and I honestly start thinking that half of these people should not be there.
Should not be in jail.
Young people just getting more educated into crime, because that's what happened. You know, and they should be in treatment, right? So definitely, even there is much to be said about the war on drugs, and we are not going to talk about this right now. It's not relevant for this conversation, but definitely, should we want to take that line? Yes, but not war on the addicts.
Yeah.
They should be supported to change, because we know when those people change, it's quite rewarding to see that they become responsible people in our society.
Yes.
Even for the taxpayers, they start to pay their taxes.
Exactly, yeah.
And give back to the community. We know we've got plenty of cases, and look, I'm one of them. So I kind of had my period of active addiction, and nowadays,
you're an upstanding member of society.
Do my responsibilities and try to help people. That's what we can do. We try to help people, and that's my passion, and that's what keeps me going. It's quite rewarding. It's very frustrating. Don't get me wrong, and you know very well. But if we can just shift one life, that's it. We've done our job.
I mean, it is. I mean, unfortunately, sometimes, like, politically, it's easier to sort of get, talk tough language about dealing with these people, and not actually seeing the bigger picture, that actually spending a bit of money here is going to probably result in much more benefit to the society further down the road, as opposed to, the cost of sticking someone in jail is pretty high.
That's right.
And then, unfortunately, and you worked in wrapped in the prisons. I worked in the prison service as well. People do, it's a bit of a revolving door for a lot of these people.
Yeah, I remember having people, coming back, and the conversation was, you are back here.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, but in here I've got heating, I've got food. I even can do work on a workshop, so it's quite safer for me.
Yes.
It's very sad to hear that, because in the end of the day, it's prison, and people burn their lives in, not just being in one place.
I mean, like you say, I mean, for some people, prison's actually is a safer place. For I mean, I can remember some clients, or not clients, prisoners, trying to get extended days so they didn't have to go. They would be trying to, misbehave so that they would get some added days, because they just didn't want to go.
And we got people that complete our programs and become peer supporters, and they love to come back and give back to the ones that were starting, and that's what we have. When people get into a kind of their own recovery, they normally give back straight away and try to help. It's a shift of attitude. So if governments want to invest, that's a good place to put the money.
That RAP model was pretty groundbreaking when it first started, wasn't it? Now it's Forward Trust, but I mean, I think it did a lot of good work. I mean, it was, considering, as you say, when you used to look around, at the people that were in, a lot of those people really weren't. They would have been better off being in either in a mental health hospital or a treatment program.
And we know of many cases of people that they were in prison, they've done those programs, and they came out of there, and they've been helping so many people, so many people. So definitely it's a very important work that they still do. I'm really passionate about the work that they do, and I've got good friends and good relationships with the Forward Trust and with Mike Trace. We were mentioning a few names earlier, wasn't there? It's important.
So I mean, just to sort of finish up in a little bit now. I mean, you're in India. How many days are you here for? I mean, you're here for you've been here for 48 hours, not even quite 48 hours. I know you've got a tight schedule. So you've been in India for...
I've been. So I I arrived on Tuesday early morning in Bangalore, but I stayed for a few days, and so then I arrived.
And you went to a what's the name of the place you went to?
So I've been to Sokia,
yeah.
which is a place from Dr. Matai, or wellness kind of place based on Ayurveda practices and old texts. It's a millennial Indian kind of therapy that has been here, for more than 5,000 years. So got to know the place and the people, the team, everyone very welcoming. And then flew here, and also so welcoming you guys. I mean, I'm coming to move. I will move eventually.
We'll talk about that.
I need to speak with Claudia, my wife.
We'll talk about it.
To see if she's willing for that. But yeah, it's been amazing as usual. It's the second time that I'm in India. The first time was a few years ago. Also to do some work. Also excellent experience of being in India. I think you guys are doing an amazing job in here in terms of the treatment of addictions, and there is a lot of mentality shift that needs to happen. Someone needs to start doing it, and I think you guys are the ones that are doing it in this so huge country with so many people and so much need for that shift of mentality in terms of the treatment of addiction. So,
what just for you, sort of being here, what is it that you've noticed that that Samarpan is doing, or what's a little bit different, or what's that you recognise from other places? I mean, you've worked at places, like Castle Craig, which is a well-known program. You was at UCAT, and was you at Broadway? No, you wasn't at Broadway, was you?
No, I was at Western Counseling.
Yeah, Western Counseling,
ARA, Dependency Counseling. I've been around. I think good practice. I think governance is really important in terms of teams. I mean, the clients. It's like a cascade thing. If if you take care of your team and you've got good governance on that area, your clients will be they will feel that care, right? I just been into some of your team meetings, and I could see the substance, and there is a lot of similarities between what I witnessed this morning, for example, and practices in this UK clinics. Also, I have to mention about the art therapy room.
Please.
Yesterday you showed me around. Thank you so much for that. And when I got to that art therapy, I felt there was no one there. It was just the two of us. But I felt that room quite alive. With a lot of artwork from clients here, and that's really good, because I visit many places, and many places nowadays have therapies like art therapy, but sometimes that rooms are very tidy. The paints are all on the shelves, are closed, but the art therapy room that I visited yesterday here was felt quite alive, and today I was privileged also to hear a debrief from the art therapists from the work that was done yesterday with some clients. And yes, that matches with the liveliness that I felt in that room yesterday. So really good practice, communication between team members. There is not that hierarchy between the psychiatrist and the psychologist and the therapist, and the nurse. We are all together in the team. We share information. Confidentiality is within the team. So it's really good practice, right? So that's what we want, and that's quite reassuring for someone like me that needs to be equipped and needs to know places where I can trust, and I can refer a client if they need some intensive kind of support.
I mean, for you as someone that refers people into treatment, what are some of the, you know, what are sort of, I don't know, what are sort of maybe the three most important things that you look at when you're wanting to place a client into treatment?
Yeah, I think for me the most important thing is the team, the second is the team, and the third is the team.
Okay, yeah, right.
I think teams, they make up the treatment centers, the treatment programs.
Yes.
You might have the most luxurious facilities, which you guys have in here, very good, very nice. You might have a very structured timetable and very diverse, with diverse therapies.
Yes.
But if you haven't got a team, if you haven't got the people that are working with your client, that are able to build up that rapport, that connection, that provide that safe attachment, where the client feels safe and secure to risk, because this is quite scary, you know. You know, we work in this for a few years now, and we can take it for granted, but no, I mean, it's quite scary to come to a place to talk about myself.
Yeah.
Change is scary.
Yes.
And we are not just talking about stop drinking, or, you know, we're talking changing a lifestyle.
Yes.
This is very, very scary for everyone. So if you haven't got the right conditions, i.e. the people that can hold this and contain all of these feelings and help these people, never mind. You can have the best facilities, you can have the best program. You will not have the success in terms of the client feeling engaged and really open. So I think I look always on the teams, and and that's what I look for when I go to places. That's why I say teams.
Well,
you know.
I can sort of understand that, and in terms of just, I mean, we talk about the team, but what about the facility here? I mean, for people that might sort of not know what Samarpan is, or because I mean, you said to me, when you got here yesterday, I didn't realise it was gonna. I can't remember the exact words, but I didn't think it was going to be like this.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, I think well, I can just talk about myself. One of the things that I asked you, remember, before coming here, was about the internet connection, because I need to be online and I'm working, right? And so there is like preconceived idea of something is and in the end of the day, very nice internet connection, and the facilities that you guys in here are at you know, top level. You know, if you go into, I don't like to compare, because again, that's not the most important, but but are at level of other like treatment centers and above other treatment centers in the UK and in Europe that I know about. But yeah, you've got the food. You've got a good chef as well.
We've got a good chef. We got a good chef. We got a good art therapist.
Gin that I actually used this morning.
And the gin.
Take advantage of that.
Yes.
Because it's part of my routine. So I think we need to kind of walk as much as possible.
Yeah.
We are not perfect. What we preach, and that's what I try to do. So I make use of the gym this morning. Yeah, very good facilities that you have in here. You would not know that. You would not know the difference if you are in India or if you are in Europe.
Yeah.
When you are inside of the site of Samarpan. Yeah.
Just one last question before we sort of finish up. Anything that you would want to say to anyone that might be, you know, struggling with, you know, problematic drinking, problematic drug use, gambling, whatever? Anything that you would sort of, you know, want to say to those people that, or to the families that may have a loved one that's struggling?
Yeah, I mean, to the ones that are struggling, the person itself, don't wait for a diagnosis. Don't wait for that. You know that you have a problem. You know that there is a problem there.
Yeah.
So ask for help. Just speak with anyone. Speak with a friend. Speak with a professional. Speak, you know, just bring a treatment provider like this one. You know, just get one idea without any commitment, but just ask for help. So yeah, I think people, they know that they don't need to wait for a diagnosis, right?
Yeah.
And for the families also, families is about asking for help as well.
Yes.
And it's about being willing to do the work as well.
Yes.
It's not just about the person. I think we have a lot of the cases that is like, okay, here's the husband, here's the son, just fix. And it's not about that.
Yeah.
We need to change the lifestyle, and the lifestyle is not just so and so, it's us, it's the system.
Yes.
So, which is quite scary and it's quite challenging.
Yes.
And I know that, but it's for the better.
Yeah.
And people in a few months' time or a few years' time, they will see the benefit of that.
Yeah.
You know, being in recovery. So ask for help for that, you know. So yeah, I think that's what I would say. Don't wait for a diagnosis. I've got a problem. Let me speak with someone.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. You know, you'll become a better person. This is about self-development as well. So it's a journey that a lot of people need. Including
yourself.
Including myself. That's what I try to do.
Yeah.
I can give you just a recent example at Sokia. I just didn't go. I kind of requested to go to have the client experience.
Yes.
So I had my assessments with the doctors there. I done some Ayurveda treatments there. Same. I need to experience.
Yeah.
And I do retreats, you know, to kind of work on myself, and this is an ongoing process. So it is fine. It is great. It's great. We have this opportunity, and I feel very grateful. I don't take it for granted, none of this, and I feel very grateful that I have this, and I'm experienced, and I've got people like yourselves that are trusting me to open your doors and showing me and accommodated me. So I mean, it's all good. Everyone should just ask for help, because you know it's really grateful journey. Yeah, rewarding. Yeah.
Okay. Well, look, thank you very much, Nuno, for your time today. Enjoy the rest of your visit here. I know it's a very short visit, so hopefully we'll get you back again at some point, and I'm pretty sure that I think you'll probably catch up with Obi at the Hazel Forums next month,
in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's not that long, is it? It's a few weeks' time, and maybe we'll see you at the Masters event in Oxford University in September, which Samarpan will be at. We've also got a stall there as well, so we'll be there. So yeah, thank you ever so much for your time.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Thank you.